This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. It is I, Old Gingerface, here with you as always, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for checking out the podcast. And I appreciate all the new listeners and people binge listening to the show. And the whole point of the show, if you are new, is to hear the men and women of law enforcement tell their stories from the street, unedited, how they live them, so you can gain a better appreciation for what it is that these men and women actually do. And I guarantee you the stories will knock your socks off. They're insane. I'm a cop. I've been a cop almost 19 years. And the stories are they're so different by region. And there's international guests on here too that have like a whole different way of dealing with things. I just think it's no credit to me, but I just think it's so freaking interesting hearing these stories. They're freaking wild. So I'm glad you're here with us. And today's guest, excited to have him. He's got actually a pretty sweet Instagram following. I think he's got over 18,000 people following him. He's a sergeant currently active in a Northwest Indiana agency. He's a canine handler and specializes in interdiction. He hosts the Beyond the Barrel podcast, and he's a co-founder of the Justice Academy. Without further ado, let me bring on the great Kenny Williams. Kenny.
I don't know about great, but I appreciate you having me. It's an honor.
Good to see you, man. Yeah, we were talking before the show, and I kind of stumbled upon you just randomly. You were like I was saying, I subscribe to a bunch of different YouTube channels, and I get notified when they go live and stuff like that. And I just so happened to be in a spot where I had reception and I could actually watch. And you were on there. I thought you were like one of the co-hosts or whatever, but I guess you were a guest for it. But you were on the Anti-Hero podcast, and I said, hey, maybe this guy will come on. And you responded, so here we are.
Yeah. I was a guest. I went down there and interviewed Brent, and then for my podcast, and then they did the live, and they were talking about a bunch of military stuff on the live, and I'm like clueless because I'm not in the military, but at least the podcast, when I was on it, we talked a lot about interdiction and stuff. So the podcast is good. The live, I probably said 7 words in 2 hours.
I feel you, brother. I know. Sometimes I see that. I'm like, man, why did I go to college? I should have went to the military. There's so many. It's a whole nother venue of stories I'd have, you know?
No, I'm the same way. I almost joined the military after 9/11, and my grandparents convinced me not to go, and I landed on law enforcement to kind of meet in the middle, I guess.
Yeah. Instead of just getting it over with this quick stint, you decided to have a torturous life for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you, man. So it looks like you are a pretty serious copper when it comes to like street copping it up. Like you're getting out there, you're teaching people how to like get into cars, what to look for. Like it reading about the Justice Academy kind of reminded me a little bit of street cop training. I don't know if they're still around, but I remember seeing them. They came out to Massey a few times, and I think he got like sued, or I don't know what happened with Street Cop. But the founder Dennis came on the show at one point. But is it similar type of stuff? Like you're just teaching guys what to look for, how to find stuff?
Yeah, it's for me, anyways. It's based on like the human behavior type aspect of it, and then my business partner is an attorney and an active law enforcement officer, so he teaches a lot of case law stuff, and thank God I have him as a friend too, because if I have questions when it comes to like case law and stuff, he's always like very responsive to me, and I cover it on a very minute level in my class, and only on a federal level because I'm traveling. I think I've taught in like maybe 46 states, something like that.
Wow.
To dabble in interdiction and then try to teach you the case law that goes with it would be very, very cumbersome in an 8-hour class. State. Yeah. So I touch on like Rodriguez versus US and Sharp versus US and a couple of, like case laws about building reasonable suspicion and what case law you can bounce then your case law off of to see it on the federal level if it matches up or not.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It is a real art too, because in my career I've worked with guys that are just like innately maybe interested, so they educate themselves, but you can tell when you work with a guy who knows this stuff because they will just get like double, triple the arrests you get. They know what to look for. Like a buddy of mine in this area was when I first moved out to this area and started being a copper out here in Western Mass, I was like, it was almost like every single night he had an arrest. And these are like small towns. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? But that's what it was. He dedicated himself to educating himself on what to look for. And he told me, he's like, I will sit on the side of the state highway for 5 hours until I find the right one. I'm like, damn, dude, that's dedication.
Yeah, for me, I have ADD, so being able to sit somewhere for 5 hours is almost impossible. But I can get up to about an hour and a half or 2 hours before I just make a stop based on maybe it's not the perfect car, but it has some reactions to my presence, and there's an infraction. I'll stop it just to stay in like the right mindset and right routine of going through the whole stop and all that stuff. But if I had the patience and ability to sit for longer, I definitely would.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you, brother. I mean, I worked at an agency that had a 4-lane undivided highway that went through that we had fatals on and stuff. So the agency really heavily encouraged us to do motor vehicle stops. But a lot of us got into that kind of like worker drone mentality where like you were just doing speeding. So like it was like speeding citation or warning, goodbye. You know what I mean? So some of the guys that were real hammers or girls had obscene amount of stops for the year and like very few arrests out of the stops. And it was like, and then that's in the same time frame that class started to be offered like beyond the stop and like, don't just look for the speeding or the inspection sticker or the decal on the registration. Like it's okay to talk to them and try to read them. And people will tell you, surprisingly, will tell you a lot more than you can imagine when you pull more for speeding. And that was kind of like getting people out of that cycle. It's difficult,
I mean, it's just human nature. I've been brought up not to like ask these prying questions that now as a cop you have to ask. So now you do it on a traffic stop where it's really hard to try to write someone a ticket and then befriend them to see if they're involved in moving contraband. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of my stops are warnings, and I'm let them know from the get go, and I'm not going to rescind that and look like a liar. So if I tell you you're getting a warning, you're getting a warning, and that should bring you back down to calm. Like a lot of fear is the fear of the unknown. So you get stopped, you're like, shit, I got to pay a $300 ticket, or I got to come back to Indiana, and I'm
Right.
a few states away, something like that. So if I tell you right off the jump street that like there's no court, there's no fine, and you're just getting a warning, that fear of the unknown should be down. If it stays elevated or continues to elevate as we're, progressing through that traffic stop, those are the stuff that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it is tough too, brother. I'm 45 now, and when I was 25, writing somebody $300 for speeding was like could care less. I think as a man as you age, you I don't know if it's because your testosterone drops, but you just become more empathetic. For me, there's always a season going on. Christmas isn't 2 months. It's around Thanksgiving. I can't write this guy a ticket. You know what I mean? Like I never want to heat people in the wallet, and unless they really need it, like a habitual traffic offender or whatever. You're like, all right, well, I don't feel bad about this one, but I'm just like so much softer than I used to be.
Yeah, my agency is pretty amazing. We're all about, I mean, as a whole, it's kind of all about compliance, unless you have someone that, is suspended or something along those lines, or has, multitude of tickets and still not learning. But yeah, for the most part, my agency is about compliance. So we stop you once, you have never had a ticket, you're speeding, just don't do it again, and we'll be good to go. And that's kind of, I don't know if it's the motto, but we were pretty empathetic. So I learned that as a young cop because I was only 25 when I got hired, and I was kind of the same way. I didn't really understand like the world financial system. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
still living with my grandparents and didn't have my own house. And now you look at it and I'm like, man, $300 for a ticket and what you could get with that. And if you're struggling to make your rent payment, and now I just hit you with $300. Yeah, I get a lot more empathetic as time goes on too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking about it. Do you know Dominic Izzo at all?
I do know. I don't know him on a personal level, but I do know.
He's got a pretty big following. He came on the show. I interviewed him. Really fun interview. Interesting guy, nice guy, very generous guy. Like he like boosted my show a bunch of times on his big channel, and just a nice guy. But he's one of those guys that like he says provocative things, and I believe he believes them. But he's had me thinking about one recently where he was like, he was talking about pulling somebody over for speeding, and then like it's not our job as cops to be judge, jury, executioner, and like how they address you or how they talk to you should have zero impact on whether you write them a citation or not. And it like, I've been thinking about it a lot because it kind of goes against what they taught in academy. They taught us like, well, like tickets like that, you have discretion, and when you decide to write a ticket, it's because you are using your discretion to decide this person doesn't get it or they're not getting the message. So to me, I always related that to like, I mean, I pulled people over and right off the bat, they told me to go F myself. Or I've had like a kid of a retired or passed away New York cop flip his dad's badge out the window and tell me this is a real badge. Whatever you have on your chest is whatever. And I'm like, of course, I wrote him a ticket. But Dominic's saying like, well, that was, you shouldn't have based it on that. But to me, this is what I've been thinking about. But to me, it's like, well, that's like blatant disregard for the law and doesn't respect the law at all, to the point where he doesn't know me even as a person and he's willing to do that. To me, that's like someone I would tag. But he's saying you can't count any of that stuff. And it makes me think like, well, then where does discretion come in? Just the driver history, or, you know what I mean? How do you feel about that? Or do you have any feelings on that? I know I'm just springing this.
No, yeah. I mean, I can see both ends of the spectrum there, but I saw the video too. And I think my interpretation of what he's saying is like, if you're going to go up there and you're going to say, hey, listen, like this is what you did wrong, just correct this behavior, and they're cooperative or whatever, and then they become a jerk. Now you've already kind of established that like baseline, like I'm not going to give you a ticket, and then they become a jerk. He's like, now you can't rescind that and be like, okay, here's a ticket now because you were mean to me or a jerk to me or however you want to word it.
That's
and I think what he's trying to say is like, we should ultimately be the professional in that situation, no matter what the setting is. So, for me, I don't think you should have that preconceived notion whether you're getting a ticket or warning as a cop, like, or whether you're giving a ticket or warning as you approach. It should be like based on a multitude of factors, and discretion, I don't know, comes into play at some point. I think it just needs to be more consistent. If you always write someone for going 35 over the speed limit, then you always write someone for going 35 over. Unless, in my mind, there's like a medical emergency or, but see, I don't have those hard lines. Like every stop is independent. I don't like say, no matter what, if you're going 35 over, you're getting a ticket. If I stop you and you're on your way to the hospital because someone's sick or ill or dying or, whatever the case may be, I won't give you a ticket. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. So there's that empathy portion of it. I go up to that stop not knowing whether I'm going to give you a ticket or a warning.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. And that's the rub, isn't it? Like you can't, society doesn't want it written, believe me, that we shall issue a ticket. It's much better if cops have discretion, because the vast majority of cops are just normal dudes with empathy. And if we can tell you're being genuine and there really is an issue, or and you're legitimately sorry or didn't mean to or whatever, you have some kind of like, you get it. Like you understand I screwed up. Like if you took that away, then it would be a nightmare. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. And I think cops as a general society doesn't like us that much anyways. And if there's a hard line where we have to write everyone a ticket for this specific thing, I think that it's going to be even worse for us. So I would hate that. I love the ability to have discretion as long as you're using it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny. We are by design, like not likable. It's just the way, like I'll hear young cops be like, why they love the fire department? Like, dude, we're the hall monitors. Like no one likes the hall monitor. No one likes to be told. No one likes a mirror held to themselves and told you're doing something wrong. Think about your own life. When someone tells you you're doing something wrong, your first impulse, even if you catch it, is to be like, F you. Like no one wants to know they're doing something wrong. So just innately being a cop is like it's an unlikable profession. That way, hopefully there are a lot of people out there capable of critical thinking and they can get past that, but that is a lot of people's impulses. And that is exactly why the fire department is the good guys and we're not. Like they're not, unless it's the fire inspector and he's, busting your balls for your fire alarms, different story. But it's just kind of the way it is. And that they told us that in academy too. They said, you're not going to get pats on the back. Like it's impossible to imbue this onto someone who's new, but like, just wait 5 or 10 years. Like you'll get it. Like this is not, you really have to like it is a calling. You have to want to do this job, and you have to be comfortable with you're not going to get a whole lot of attaboys along the way.
You're definitely not. It's we me and one of my buddies who's a cop in Indiana too. We created this like little like golden pig award because we like we once a month will sit down and break down like 3 or 4 live videos of cops doing the right thing that don't get recognized because you could do everything right and it's rare, even in a very stressful situation or all these types of things that you'll get recognized for doing good police work when you should be getting recognized for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's why my hat goes off to the leaders out there that recognize their officers and go out of their way to kind of highlight those situations. That's great. I love how like some agencies have award ceremonies every year and they get commendations and for things that were done well. I think that's important. Like I think it falls by the wayside with a lot of the smaller places, but I think it it means a lot. It's a statement to the officers, to the crew, and also to the public.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think awards can get overdone, but I also think that awards are necessary. So there's got to be like that happy medium, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny, can you take us way back to a young Officer Williams on the job, to your first hot call, the first call that like gave you an adrenaline dump or something in the beginning of your career, if you can't remember like the first?
Yeah, trying to think back to 18 years or whatever is kind of difficult, but I do remember this has always stuck with me. Anytime that I run like lights and sirens, as a young officer, I'd always get tunnel vision. Like I knew it, and then through the academy, there was a guy that said like the way he breaks his tunnel vision, he just kind of looks out the passenger and driver window, so he's not just so focused. And that's one thing that I still practice today. If I have to run lights and sirens, just like break that tunnel vision and look out the passenger, every so often, passenger and driver window, not like egregiously because you're running lights and sirens, but like instead of just focusing straight ahead, kind of paying attention to your peripherals. That's the only thing that I can really remember. I think early on in my career that I would always get tunnel vision and the inability to break it for me,
Yeah,
or even realize that I had it.
Kind of like the range, like you go to shoot, like when you're instructing somebody, you tell them like, look left, look right, like try to physically stop yourself from having tunnel vision. They say it works. If you train like that, hopefully that's what you do in a shooting. So same idea with running lights and siren. Just you're physically moving your body and hopefully the brain follows.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, same thing with shooting. Like you said, we do that now where we're always like side to side and we'll like, then range guys sometimes will be behind us and we'll check to make sure like and hold up fingers and we have to tell them how many fingers we have up and things like that. But again, same concept.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like, I kind of wigged out the most at medical calls, like, because we're a lot of times first, and and we have a basic level of first responder trained, like I'm not an EMT or beyond that, and I never wanted to go beyond that. But when I was new, like I always like when someone's dead and the family's like screaming around them, and you're there, you're the first one. Those calls really stuck with me the most. Like those always just freak me out because it's just this panic from the family, and you're kind of just like going through the basic life support that waiting for the good guys to show up and take over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I still to this day I'm not a huge fan of seeing dead bodies, like natural, like not even like traumatic deaths, just naturally dead bodies. Like I don't like it. I don't watch scary movies, whatever. Like I just literally do not like it anymore. And I don't know if I've always been that way. I mean, because before you're a cop, like how many dead bodies do you actually see? But ever since I've been a cop, like the only way I was able to cope with that is like looking at them like as they're Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Like that is a way, and I know that probably sounds like I'm insensitive or not empathetic. I am, but like I don't want to be going through the stress that you're going through. That when I'm trying to calm you down in that sad situation or just give you some empathy back. So the way that I can wrap my mind around it is I just look at Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, and that's kind of how I don't correlate it to an actual dead body laying there.
Yeah, we have to find ways to cope with it like that. My least favorite thing is when the body's not cold, doesn't have rigor, but it's also not like real hot, and it looks real dead. And then it's like you have to make the decision, like you start CPR, but in your heart of hearts that this is performative for people who are there. Like they're dead, but they're not like cold to the touch. It's not like an unattended.
Right.
Those for me, I hate. I hate. I've had like, fire personnel be like, yeah, no, we probably wouldn't. But I'm like, I don't know, and it's horrible. It's horrible. And I remember in CPR when I first took it, they were like, you shouldn't hear any ribs breaking. It's like, that's BS, because I have felt the whole entire like breastplate floating. Like, you know what I mean? You're doing CPR the way you're supposed to do it, and like they're just getting banged up. And then I always thought, well, maybe we're all doing CPR too heavy, but the firefighters, the EMTs, and paramedics do it the same way. And then when they brought the Lucas machine on the scene, I was like, damn, that thing's pushing their heart against their spine. Like if you think you were doing compressions too shallow, watch the Lucas machine. That thing is ramrodding these people. I mean, it looks like it's killing them to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't know why they would say you wouldn't. I've never had that not happen where you're doing CPR, but I guess again, it's typically elderly, so
Right.
I don't know if it's like brittle bones and that type of thing. I don't know, but yeah, I've never not had bones break or whatever that noise is.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a bunch of precursor to this lesson I didn't listen to in class. I just heard that you should never. I just got enough information to pass the test. All right, brother. Can you tell us about a strange or bizarre thing you've dealt with?
Like funny or serious? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Let it rip.
All right. Earlier, my city's kind of on the cusp of like very urbanized and like bunch of neighborhoods and then farm fields. So I, I've never been on a farm, like none of that stuff. But then we would go to calls, specifically the one I remember I was, probably a year on, maybe even less than a year. And there was a pig running around a gas station. And I didn't know what pigs do, but I didn't want it to run in the road. So I was chasing it for an extended period of time. I finally caught it. And unbeknownst to me, that pigs make the highest squelching noise ever when they get caught. And then I let it go and we chased it for another hour and a half. That was a good one. So like, thank God we didn't have video camera or body cam then, because that would be, that would have a lot of views at this point.
You guys chase that thing for that long?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's just going in and out of the road?
No, it was like in the parking lot. We didn't want it to go on the road. So there was like two of us there and we just kind of like corralled it. And it was a mini pig. It was like, it came off a trailer with like a bunch of big pigs and there was a little one in there, I guess. I don't know. And like it was fast and it would run in circles and we just could not capture it at all. There's a picture somewhere. I'll try to find it. But yeah, that's the only documentation we have. There's no video of it, thank God.
Yeah, because that would definitely be that is a meme-rich environment. A bunch of cops chasing a piglet.
For sure.
Your trainee got away. Get him. Stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, yeah, we have animal issues where I'm at, and I'm always touching back with dispatch to try to. Did you get a hold of the owner? Like, do we know who this owner is? Because I don't even like dealing with any like horses. Dude, they're so big. Like I know guys that are comfortable with them, they'll just grab them by the reins, but not me, man. Like I'll just put my arms out. So like you said, so they don't go in the road, but I don't want to touch a horse. Like they're huge. They're like
huge.
Size of a moose. I'm not going to screw with that thing. Yeah, that's funny, man. You guys have a lot of loose animal calls. Do you police like in a rural area?
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Now my current assignment, I mean, we used to get like cattle on the road sometimes and stuff, and that's what's weird is because it's it's like on the cusp of like a very like urbanized area and rural area. So like we have a lot of traffic because people are trying to get to their homes and stuff. So then you'll see cows and goats and horses, and we used to have this bull that would get out, and that thing was nuts.
Hell no.
Yeah, like so like it's not completely uncommon, but for me it was uncommon for sure when it happened, when I had to chase a pig.
Yeah. So in Northwest Indiana, what is the number one when you're doing interdiction? What is the number one drug you guys are seeing? What's the biggest problem?
Right now, it's probably fentanyl or some designer drugs. Maybe like I've seen a lot of ketamine for the first time in my life recently. But yeah, mainly like the opiates.
the opiates. And when you get in, is it relatively easy to flip somebody or have them work with you?
Depends on how much you have, and it depends on who they're working for. More likely than not, if they have a large amount and they're not working with a family network, like mm, like a generationally, like my dad, or I would be snitching on my brother or my dad or something like that. The larger amounts, they seem to talk a lot more. Smaller amounts, not so much. It's interesting. I mean, Indiana is a very strict state when it comes to drugs. I think like over 28 grams, you're looking at like a level 2 felony, and that's the same as if you have 10 kilos.
Wow.
So yeah, so like what I mean. There's not a lot of differentiation in there for time wise, and yeah, it's interesting. But usually, if they have more, if they have a couple kilos and they're not working within a family, they're more willing to tell us a story, whether it's all true or half true or whatever it is. But they're telling us something.
Right. The DAs work with you guys pretty good about, I'm sure you don't make them any promises, but the DAs are good with helping these people out or
Yeah,
letting them
yeah.
work stuff off.
I mean, yeah, if they're ultimately trying to work your way up and get the bigger fish, so most prosecutors and around here are willing to, um, if they give you good information that you can corroborate, they're letting them work.
ProForce Law Enforcement, the best damn cop shop in the nation, whether you're purchasing for an entire agency or you're an individual officer looking to buy firearms or duty gear, these guys are the best in the biz. ProForce has law enforcement exclusive pricing and is the place to be buying your guns and duty gear. They carry all the top industry brands, and the guys and gals that work there understand exactly what law enforcement officers need. Special discount link, tps.proforceonline.com. It's deeply discounted items just for listeners of this show, or you can go to proforceonline.com and shop the whole place. Place is unbelievable. You can also visit Prescott, Arizona in person or Brea, California in person to get hands-on with the gear. All the contact stuff is in the show notes. Thank you, ProForce. And for you with the canine, do you take the dog? I mean, obviously, how often do you take the dog off and go around the car?
It depends. If it depends on if I'm called to a scene and someone else has initiated a traffic stop and they're requesting a dog. But I would say, I don't know, maybe 3 times a month I use my dog. You would be amazed at how many times people just give you consent to search if you have the ability to talk. You're not a robot. You're like listening to what they're saying, and you're empathetic and you're having like active conversation. I think that you can befriend people very fast during a traffic stop, and for whatever reason, it seems that they're relatively confident, or I don't know, want to be cooperative, and they'll give you consent.
Like they think they have like a good enough hide and that you're not going to find it anyways, that type of thing.
That, or yeah, I think it's just in a society, if they're not like a hardened criminal, like most people want to cooperate with law enforcement to an extent. Like that's kind of how everyone's raised in society. Like the cops are the good guys for the most part, and now they might be in a bad situation where they're running a substance that's illegal because they fell in hard times or something like that. But that doesn't make them a bad person. So they were raised in the right family that has good morals, and they want to cooperate with law enforcement. I think overall that's kind of why they often give you consent to search if you're not a robotic cop and you can just be a human with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. What is the number one, or is there a number one tell for fentanyl trafficking?
No, I can't. So, I mean, maybe other guys are better than me. I don't know, but I can't necessarily tell what you have in the car. As we're going through the stop, I might be able to tell that you're being deceptive and you're lying about something. But until I start searching it, it could be anything from fraudulent merchandise, stolen merchandise, to guns, to drugs, to money, to you just committed a crime. I don't know. We've caught some people that were wanted for murder, had committed a murder, and we had them in custody prior to like a bolo coming out like that evening. So like it just depends. I mean, me personally, I can't tell you what's going to be in the car. I can just kind of tell if they're being deceptive about whatever their trip.
Gotcha.
Like they're not being upfront and honest about what's going on.
When I first moved to this area and became a cop, I stopped a guy and he had like a Honda Accord, and it was like super clean. it was like a early 2000s Honda Accord, but the inside was like impeccable, like mint. And he was a major dickhead to me. Like, he got out of the car. He wouldn't get back in the car. He was standing in the road with me. I almost arrested him, ordered him back in the car. Finally went in the car, gave him a citation. And then I found out later that from some of the other local guys that, oh yeah, he's he's basically being watched. He's one of the local drug dealer guys. And when I told them where we were, they go, yeah, he probably just dropped off. So he knows, number one, he hates cops, but if he's holding, he's a lot different than when he drops. So you got him after he dropped and he felt like giving you a hard time. So that's what he did. And I noticed the car was like immaculate. Is that something like you look for? Like, the car's like shouldn't be so clean, but it is. And the person doesn't seem like they would keep a car like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like to see the cleaner cars. And simple, plain Jane, but like very well kept, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking for some flashy car that's going to come by. It's trying to blend in with, the local traffic and whatever that commuter traffic is. As far as the inside, I like to see that being clean. I don't like a lot of trash and those types of things for guys that are moving a considerable amount of weight. Just my luck, I usually have like users when they keep their car kind of trashy and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just my personal experience. So, but when it comes to the outside, it just kind of depends too. Like, if we, like, for me, yes, I do not like seeing dirty cars. But if you take that same car and you put it somewhere like down south in like Texas or Oklahoma in the oil fields, we've seen where they are coming up and their car looks like it if it's the part of like a work truck or something along those lines, and they're trying to blend in with that demographic of vehicle. So it just kind of depends.
Gotcha. Yeah, the users are a whole different story. We had one of our guys did a stop, I think for speeding or something, and the guy had his crack pipe right in the AC vent, cooling it down. Just totally forgot it was there. And the cop's like, "What's going on here?" He's like, "Oh, it was getting real hot when I was driving." It's like, dude.
I had a guy had a pound and a half of heroin under his shirt in a shopping bag, and he left it there. And then when he got out of the car, he just handed it to me, like literally just pulled it out of his shirt and handed me a pound and a half of heroin. Because I guess I don't know, like it's the one and only time, but I was like floored by it the whole time.
Wow. You're like,
Yeah.
This can't be real.
Yeah, I was like, and then after he hands it to me, he starts like sweating and stuttering and all this stuff, and I'm like, "What's this?" And then he just like broke down. But I was like, "Man, a pound and a half of heroin? I couldn't like leave it in the car or put it in the trunk when you picked it up. Like, you just are gonna hand it to the cop when he stops you? So be it."
Worst drug runner ever.
Yeah,
whatever you do,
exactly.
don't get out and hand it to them.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. Like, unless you want to go to jail, I guess. I don't know.
That's funny. Kenny, can you tell us about your most intense or terrifying call you've been on so far?
There was a call early in my career, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 years on or so. Our detectives were handling a different, like, or a homicide subject, and they were doing a search warrant, and we had a call. I used to work with this lady at my job prior to being the police, and I become the cop or whatever, and I know that she was going through some domestic things with her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend or the father of her son or something along those lines. But there was some connection, and I know that she had like a protection order against him, and he was supposedly living in Kentucky. Well, the neighbor had called when I was leaving the gym, and I heard the radio pick up, and it said something about this house, and they saw someone like climbing in the back window. I knew everyone was tied up, so I had my like SWAT vest in the car and my SWAT rifle. So I'm literally in like gym shorts, t-shirt, SWAT vest, rifle. That's all I have. And then two other guys were able to break away, and we searched this entire house, and we get to the basement. And again, there's only two of us clearing because one has to have the door to watch our back. So it's very slow, and like he knows exactly where we're at or anything. So we go and we clear the whole basement. And right in the middle, for some reason, there was just a bunch of dirty clothes. And I was like, this is weird. Like, the lady, why would this old lady lie about this dude climbing in the window? So that was the very last spot we checked, and I just jammed my rifle in it, and he just started screaming. But we were able to get him. So like we found him, and we were able to get him in custody. He had a gun on him, and it was loaded, but he had one bullet in his like fifth pocket. And I always think like, what was he going to do to the woman or even that kid if they came home? And it
Yeah.
almost looks like he was setting himself up for like some type of murder suicide by keeping that one in his little fifth pocket. But that was a very intense one because we knew he was in there. There's no way, and like we're in the basement. We've cleared the whole house now, and it's like a pile of clothes. I'm like, dude, this is so weird. It was creepy. And when we cleared it, we kind of, you kind of go on the outside and trying to clear everything. So that was like the last spot. We already walked past him. So if he would have like jumped out with his gun or came up, I don't know. It was. I still think about it sometimes. I don't know what we could have done tactically any better, but that's one that's. And I wasn't really in police mode at that time. Gym shorts, tennis shoes, a
Yeah.
SWAT vest, like, and a rifle. like, um, but
Damn.
yeah, that one sticks out in my mind often.
Dude, it comes up in your mind. Imagine how often that lady thinks about it. She
Yeah,
would have been
hopefully.
in big trouble.
Yeah. No, yeah, so I guess, yeah, that's the win, I guess. She doesn't have to think about it, I do.
Yeah. Damn, man. Did he have any did
Oh,
he tell you anything what his plan was?
no, we turned it over to the detectives. I'm not really sure. I know that he went to prison. He still might be in prison for it because there was a long ongoing thing with domestic violence and protection order and those types of things. And he was definitely a felon, shouldn't have the gun, those types of things. And so he still could be in prison for all I know.
Yeah, I hope so. Kenny,
Same.
what kind of dog do you run?
My first dog was a Dutch Shepherd. I'm on my second one, and it is the biggest lab you've ever seen. I like to tell people that he's half pit, half lab because he's 85 pounds of solid muscle, and his head is the size of a basketball. But
That's a big one.
yeah, as far as I know, he's a lab. It was funny because when we got him, the breeder's like, none of my, I give a lot of dogs to the federal government, and they have to be 70 pounds. They can't be over 70 pounds. I'm like, cool. I get him, he's like 73, and like 3 months later, he's 80 pounds. I'm like, you are a liar. Like, this thing is a fucking tank.
You ever work with shepherds?
So my first dog was a Dutch Shepherd, not a German Shepherd. But in our unit, we've always had German Shepherds. We had males, Dutch Shepherds, Labs, and yeah, those are. I think
I,
I think we only had one Dutch Shepherd, but I'm not positive.
I heard German shepherds are the superior dog.
I guess I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. I want a German shepherd.
I mean, they are like the grandfather of police work, so I can't. But if you look at a Mal or a Dutch Shepherd with their agility
Oh my
alone, I
gosh.
mean,
Dude,
they're on
those
another
videos
level.
online are insane. I'm like, dude, if that guy didn't catch that dog, it would have died.
Oh, the ones like you're talking about jumping up and catching like a
Yeah.
yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
They're like cat agility. Like the Dutch Shepherd and the Mals are like cat agility. Like that's how agile they are.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean, they are an amazing dog. And what worries me is when you go online and there's and I'm just scrolling reels in boredom, and there'll be like some chick who bought one because it's like they're cool. I don't know. She's like a right-wing chick and she's like, I want a Dutch Shepherd or a Malinois. And the things I saw one that's like 10 weeks old. It's showing its teeth and snapping at her. I'm like, this is not the dog for you. Like, this dog is like, he's already charged up. Like, he's ready to go, and he's going to be the boss for sure.
Yeah, you definitely with mine anyways, you definitely had to establish like the pecking order at a young age, because if you do not, they are going to run your life and it's not going to be good. Like, so, and they're kind of weird dogs too. They're kind of mouthy dogs. Like, I don't know how to even describe it. Like they'll like almost like not bite you, but like, almost like kind of like just put your hand in their mouth and stuff. Like, and I don't
Yeah.
know. They're like mouthy dogs compared to most dogs. It's strange how they use their mouth, but if you've established that like their pecking order, when they're doing that stuff, it's more like friendly, maybe some play, but it's nothing vicious at that moment. But if you let it run your life, it will run your life. You'll definitely be second in that pecking order.
Yeah, I've gleaned that from handlers before, where it's like there's this whole other world of dog ownership where it's like you don't need to physically dominate your dog. That's actually damaging. Yeah, you do actually, depending on the breed. Like, some breeds need to be really physically dominated because you need to be the alpha. Like, there's no way to like sweetheart talk your dog into convincing it that you're the alpha. You have to put your hands on it. You have to submit the dog.
Especially at a yeah. If you get it at a young age and you're able to do it at a young age, it's way better than if you get a dog that's 3 years old from the shelter that now you're trying to do it, because now it's 70 pounds of piss and vinegar that you're trying to, make
Right.
compliant, and it's not, it's going to be a challenge for sure.
My buddy, a friend of mine talked about going to the school for canine handling with the dog, and there was a dog there that was like particularly headstrong. And these are like, this was in California. These are like a highly regarded training facility, and they hung the dog. They like choked it out. Like the dog that they would not submit. They legit like put its leash up over, not like a branch, but something, and just like choked it out till it was almost passed out. And then it ended up breaking the dog, and it was usable. And I was like, damn, dude, that's, I don't know if I could do that. That's pretty intense. But according to these guys, I don't know if they were old school dudes or what, but this dog had no chance of working unless it was like, it got the memo, and that's what they did. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. I just heard the story, and I was just like, yikes.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you follow any of the police dogs, a lot of the dogs are coming from other countries. They're not a lot of them are born and bred here, and I wonder if some of that is like they have to do that at a young age to break that like headstrong type thing. And in other countries, they don't have like PETA, so in order to, you know what I'm saying? So like there might be that reason that a lot of these dogs are coming from overseas, because you have to do this. And I guess as Americans, we don't want to see it, even though if it is happening.
Right. Like, I don't want to see how the sausage is made. I just want to eat it.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. Yep.
I don't want to see the bolt gun go into the cow's brain. I just want to have the steak. Kenny, can you tell us about a positive or heartwarming encounter from your career?
Positive or heartwarming? You put me on the spot here. Man. Very heartwarming.
This is a tough one. Everybody struggles with it. And sometimes the heartwarming stories I get out of you guys are like only heartwarming in the lens of a police officer. It's like,
so I could tell you this one. I guess I found out years later, but the one traffic stop that I briefly talked about catching a couple guys that had just killed some people in a city further south, and they were coming back up here. A few years later, my wife had introduced me to one of her friends, and they broke down. Not broke down, but they like were thanking me because the people that ended up dead were either related to them or friends of them. And I was like, what a small world that you knew them and like just correlated all that stuff. So, just seeing like, yes, bad things happen, but being able to, give them a little bit of justice and show them a little bit of whatever that it looks like, but at least that they got that justice. And then I was like, man, small world that I was able to be such a, involved in that case, and then actually find someone that was related to the victims. I don't know, but I didn't find that out till a couple years later. So at the time it didn't really register, but seeing their, I guess, happiness for some of the justice, even though their loved ones won't be here. Kind of heartwarming, because it's rare that you see that side of it as a cop.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super rare to have any anything come back to you. Like, you can go to like the most depraved, horrible call and be like, well, hope these people have an okay life. You never hear about it again. Sometimes, a lot of times you never get to hear, but that's great, man. It's heartening at least. Like, all right, well, this is making a difference in some people's lives. Yeah,
for sure. I guess, I mean, as I travel to teach, there's been 6 kids that have been rescued from people that attended my class, like cops. But again, I don't see this. I'm seeing this third hand, so it doesn't have that. Like, I mean, sure, it's very impactful. Thinking maybe I had a little piece of that.
Yeah, totally.
Case or something, but it's not me tangibly seeing it like firsthand. So something that you could see a little more firsthand, I think it hits you a little better.
When you're saying rescued, you mean like found during a stop or something, or
like
reunited
with their...
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, some of them might have been like maybe like a custodial thing, kidnap her mom or something. But there was there's 2 that always come to mind. The very first 2 that dad was in jail, mom had drug problems and was dead, and this was like mom's or dad's girlfriend that had no rights to the kids. So basically, CPS failed him, and whether it was true or not, she was telling the kids that they were going to be like sold in another state, and this cop just happened to be in the way. Yeah, and he didn't find that out initially. He just found drugs, was able to arrest the girlfriend, knew something was up as a cop with the kids, then got like I forget, but they get like the specific people that interview kids and
Yeah.
that's where that story came out at.
Wow. That's crazy, man. Yeah. The custodial kidnapping stuff is such a pain in the balls to deal with. But my dad, he was a cop for 32 years, and on his way out got wrapped up in one of those cases, custodial kidnapping. He has a story about it that I should have him on the podcast. Like we've talked about it before. I just haven't, because I'm afraid it will be awkward or something, interviewing my dad. But he ended up in federal court at the end of his career for a custodial kidnapping case between Massachusetts and I think like New Hampshire. And it was actually in the Boston Globe. I was reading the article. I found it online. The sitting federal judge who he took the case into federal court, and that was a whole argument in itself. But his name was Judge Keating, and he was like 89, and he was losing his mind literally. He would, like, my dad and the other officers from their town would go to court, and my dad said some days he would slam the bench and say, "You're all in peril of losing your freedom permanently. You may not be going home to your families tonight." Federal court judge.
I would be pissing my pants.
Oh my gosh, they all were. They were all like, "Oh my gosh!" And then the clerk of the court, the federal magistrate, told my dad, "Hey, I don't know if you noticed, he's losing it. So call into the court, and I can give you an update on how he is on that particular day. And if I'm not here, it's because it's that bad, and I'm not coming in."
Wow.
And my dad's like, "Great," because the guy can't be removed. He can only be. I think what ended up happening is his peers. I think they can be kind of talked into retiring by like other federal court judges. They must have like a support committee where they're like, "All right, we need the judges together because this guy is frigging nuts." Like my dad was working with a female officer who was involved in this case, and she was going home bawling every day. She had young kids and was like, "This guy's going to throw us in prison."
Yeah, I would be terrified of that.
Totally nuts. And it was all over custodial kidnapping. And yeah, it was crazy. I should have him come on and tell the story, because it is, I mean, nothing is scarier to me. Even now, like I just go to our district court, but like when you're in the courtroom with the judge, they have so much authority over everybody in the room. They can do anything. And this is one of those rare scenarios where that one person who has all that authority is losing grip on reality. And it's terrifying. Like, luckily they would come back from lunch and he would be like reset or whatever, or be like, "All right, we'll see you new date," and wouldn't mention anything, any of the threats he mentioned earlier. My dad was like, "I just want to retire. This sucks."
Did he preside over that whole case?
I think he got removed. I don't think he finished it out. I was young. I was only like 18 or 19 when he was going through it. So I'm gonna have to ask him, but I think he got removed before it was done.
I mean, that would even scare me if I was a defendant in that situation. Like, if the judge isn't making sound decisions on both sides of the spectrum, that's rough.
Yeah, totally. Like, who's he gonna snap on today? So yeah, custodial kidnapping, that is the worst, dude. Like, PDs are usually used for like a child swap stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always like, just let this just meet in the parking lot and get, no problems, please.
Yeah, it's like, it's like Sundays and Fridays. You see a lot of it. Like, I don't know if it's just most visitations transpire on the weekends or whatever, but yeah. And the custodial ones that people had from my class were more like protection order, custodial type things, where like they didn't have rights to the kid anymore and those types of things, and we're able to, however, get them. A kid doesn't understand that. So if I go pick you up from school and I'm your dad and you have a protection order, you're going to come with dad more than likely, and not, the kid doesn't put things together like that.
That's the other terrible situation I've dealt with a couple times in life, where when one of the schools calls you and is like, "Hey, we have this dad that isn't supposed to come pick the kid up, but he's going to," like that type of thing, where like now you're faced with, like, just so everybody knows, these are like the weirdo situations you get yourself into as a cop. You're involved with telling a father he can't spend time with his son. That is horrible. It feels terrible. Like, regardless of, like, you don't know the whole backstory, you don't know what he's been through or what the actual facts of the case are. You're just supposed to go there and go, Your son's staying with me.
Yeah,
Horrible.
it's rough. Yep.
Rough,
Nope,
dude.
I agree. And I
Rough.
feel like that's when rational people make irrational decisions, when we get sent to things like that, and that's the most volatile time to be a cop in those predicaments.
Absolutely, dude. And that's exactly what I think in my mind. I'm like, I think like, what if someone tried to keep me from getting my son?
Yeah,
Could that
irrational
be?
decisions.
Yeah, could that be the one time in my life where I really just go off the deep end? If there's going to be a situation where it happens, that could be it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't see your kid. Freaking nuts, dude. Especially in Massachusetts, I could say so much about the courts, but they issue these restraining orders like friggin' willy-nilly on people. And
Eh,
a lot of them are
So
unsubstantiated in the end. And the whole time this guy is hassled because untrue claims.
yeah, I wish there was some type of repercussion for that, but in Indiana, so you can get like a temporary one for like 30 days, and then
Mm,
whoever it's against then has to come to the court and say why you kind of like they shouldn't have it or whatever the case may be. You still have to make your case to get it, as the person that's petitioning for one, but within 30 days you have to go in front of a magistrate and you both get to like argue your sides of why it should be in place or why it shouldn't. So I like that avenue of it because if it's needed, then it's a 30 days where, now if that person is still doing things, then, they're building up cases by contacting them or whatever. So
right.
I feel like I know it's only a piece of paper, but there might be some protection where it would deter people from doing violent things.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the flip side of it is like talking to my dad, who was a cop years and years ago, was like, it used to be in Mass, like you showed up to a domestic call and the woman's all beat up and she didn't want to press charges. It was simple assault and battery. So they didn't have, in Massachusetts, you don't have arrest authority unless it's assault and battery is done in your presence. So she's an uncooperative victim, but it's because he's looming behind her.
Yeah.
They would just leave. And well, those women ended up dead. Women ended up dead because of that. So I understand the kind of the pendulum swinging way the other way.
Yep.
It just doesn't make it any easier to deal with,
My department created this thing, and I don't know if we're one of the only ones or where my administration found it, but it's pretty amazing. So if you're involved in a domestic, even if it's like a verbal, let's say verbal domestic, there's no one going to jail, no nothing like that. We have to reach out to you like 3 times and try to have a conversation with you outside the scope of other parties. So like independently,
Oh, interesting.
and see like, is this an ongoing thing? And there's like 6 or 8 questions that that we try to ask, either like via phone or in person. But we have to make at least 3 attempts to try to have contact with someone to avoid those repeat calls that we always go on to with a continue. And if there is verbal domestic or if there was, something violent in the past, we have resources then and give them the resources because a lot of people in those domestics, they feel like I'd have nowhere to go. Like if I'm
Yeah.
a single husband or single mom, or a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, and that's the breadwinner, or vice versa, or whatever. Like, where do you want me to go? Live on the street? Remove me from my kids? Like, I understand why oftentimes the victim in those situations don't want to pursue anything. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's very sad. Very sad. I mean, I don't know the answer to it. I'm a Christian guy and, men are supposed to be leaders of the household. They're supposed to protect their wives and love their wives like Christ loved the church. Like following those tenets makes sense. But when that breaks down and that's not happening, women are incredibly vulnerable. You have 3 kids and no job. What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, where do you go? Who's got all the power? The abusive husband. So it's brutal, man. Kenny, popular question on the show. A lot of people listening are thinking about becoming cops, or they're kind of using the podcast to gear up to like go into backgrounds or apply. What advice would you give to new officers who are looking at getting into the field?
Work on your communication skills. The ability to communicate goes a long way, and it's something that you can start doing now. That will translate to the profession. If you're a introverted person like myself, and it takes you a lot to like go and just have casual conversations with random people that you've never met, now imagine going to someone's worst day and try to have a conversation with them and be a human and be empathetic and be understanding. So I think like communication is one of the the biggest tools that cops have. And you can also, like, as a cop, you can talk yourself in or out of a lot of situations that could, if you're understanding and empathetic, where it maybe someone is mad, but if you listen to them, have that conversation, and then they won't use that anger towards you. So communication's huge, and I think that you can start working on that years before you become a cop, and it will transition great to being a cop.
Words of wisdom, brother. Thank you for that. Kenny, tell us about what you got going on. Obviously, you've accrued like over 18,000 followers on Instagram, which is, my hat's off to you. That's awesome. And then you also had the Beyond the Barrel podcast. What is Beyond the Barrel about?
So prior to being a cop, I was a bartender, and it's kind of like a double pun. So my like the way my mind works, I always wanted to have like these in-depth conversations with cops, but in order to do that, you have to lock them in, because if you run into a cop, you're going to talk to him for maybe 10 minutes at the most, and that's going to be it, and so on. So, and I think that the beyond the barrel of the gun, so beyond the barrel of like the cop, and then sitting around the bourbon barrel, just like bullshitting, telling stories. That whole thing, I kind of just wanted people to realize that cops are just normal humans. They're the same person that, like sports or whatever your hobbies are, fishing or whatever. And just because that they have that, uniform and that badge doesn't define who they are. There's way more to them, and they're just like everyone else. If you didn't tell someone I was a cop and I walked up to him, I don't think that they would have the idea that I was a cop.
Yeah. Oh, very cool, man. And then you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts.
Yep.
Good deal, brother. And on Instagram, it's at @red_ninja111, correct?
Correct.
Excellent, man. Kenny, it was an honor to have you on, man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming and sharing your stories.
No, man, I appreciate you having me. It's my pleasure, completely.
All right, brother. Thank you. And I got to do the outro of the show. Can you hang on just like 2 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The great Kenny Williams, guys. Really fun stories. Great info. Pick up one of his seminars, and you can be a cop that knows how to look for stuff a lot better than I do. Hey, maybe if he comes to Massachusetts again, I can sit in the man, get a discount. Kenny, can I get a discount for this class? You have a discount for learning impaired police officers? That would be me. So thank you to Kenny. Really fun time. And this is a time in the show where I think the Patreon sponsors. If you love the show, you listen to all the podcasts, you've been listening to all the free content, and you want to show your love to old Stevie Boy, to old Gingerface monetarily, you can do that through the link in the show notes. Also, I should mention, I will link Kenny's podcast and his website in the show notes as well, so you can get a hold of him. But this is the time when I thank the sponsors who I'm talking about. These are the lieutenants, ladies and gentlemen, the lieutenant level. The great and powerful Andy Biggs. Joey Langley. Thank you, sir. The great Kyle Roberts. Michael Roach from Roach Machines. Thank you, sir. The great, powerful, and handsome Thomas Connell. Now the sergeants. Adam McMahon, Adam Mehal, Brad Thompson, Brett Lee, Dan Carlson from Burley Boys, amazing woodworker, check him out. Sherry Finch, thank you, Madame. Clark LaCuff, everybody. Dave Ellman, Dennis Carrasquillo, thank you. Doug and Kelly Newman, love you guys. Hope you're enjoying Wyoming. Dylan Mosher, Elliot Sykes, Gabriel Decknop, the great Gary Steiner, George Carey, Otis, ladies and gentlemen, Greg Gadboy, my man Greg, Jackson Dalton, Black Box Safety, check them out. Thank you, Jackson, the great and venerable Jason Labrie, Jason Lau, none other than the great Jason Lau, everybody. John Jordan, ladies and gentlemen. John Shoemaker, thank you. John and Aaron Kate, love you guys. See you in church. Lauren Stimson? Yes, please. Thank you. The handsome Lane Campbell. Lisa Gano, thank you. Lisa. The great, powerful, and handsome Marcus Johansson. Thank you, Marcus. Iceman Motocrop Chronicles, check out his podcast. Nancy Hammond, come on. Thank you. Paul Maloney, past guest, excellent dude. Check him out. Sergeant Raymond Arsenal, thank you. Richard Tolles, keep on trucking, brother. Be safe out there. Sasha McNabb, yes. Sam Conway, the great Sam Conway. Scott Young, Sean Clifford, thank you, good sir. Seth Wright, everybody. Sheriff Ronald Long, thank you, Sheriff. Tammy Walsh, holding it down to dispatch, thank you, Tammy. Tony Fahey, everybody. Zachary Pleat, and the great and the handsome George Tessier. Love you, buddy. See you at church. Guys, woo, those are the Patreon sponsors. Thank you to them. And this week I did a lot better job, if I don't say so myself, calling out the names. Last week I was a little bit sick. This week, I think you'll agree, pretty much nailed it. Thank you, guys. I love you, and I will see you next time.